This is the pennant I'm going to show you how to make today. It's the fabric for the front, the motif. On the back there's a sleeve that needs to be slip stitched down, a label, and then down the middle back here is where the seam is going to be. This area here has been slip stitched down, but I'm going to show you an alternative method of doing this. These are the materials you're going to need for making the pennant. First of all, there's the fabric for the front. This measures 13 inches by 18 inches. The fabric for the back, and this can be any fabric of your choice, but this is calico I'm using today, which is 14 inches by 18 inches. Fabric for the sleeve is 15 inches by 7.5 inches. You can put wadding in your pennant if you choose, and I'll show you how to do that. The wadding size is 13 inches by 18 inches. There is your label for the back, your motif, and this is backed with an adhesive fusible web. And then you also need your template. These have been downloaded from the website at quiltsforlondon.org.uk, and then I've sellotaped them together to create my template that I'll be using today. First thing to do is to make your sleeve. Fold your fabric in half and take it to the sewing machine and stitch a seam down the end. When you've done that, move the seam to the centre and then fold it in half, and that there is your sleeve for your pennant. Put that to one side and we'll use that later on. The fabric for the back of the pennant is slightly wider than the front. That's because we're going to be doing a seam down the middle. First thing to do is fold your fabric in half, and then taking a 6-inch ruler, mark the bottom and the top with either a pencil, this is a water soluble pen, and take this to the sewing machine, and using a 1/2-inch seam, stitch all the way up to the first mark, back stitch, and then back stitch here to the end. And the reason for leaving this area here free is that that's going to be where you're going to be turning your pennant through, and using the 1/2-inch seam will allow you to make it easier for you to close your seam up at the end. After you stitch your seams either side of your marked area, you need to trim off the fold. This can be done with a pair of scissors or with a rotary cutter, which is what I'm going to do now. This then creates your opening. Open the back out and take it to the ironing board and press the seam to one side. This then creates the back opening for your pennant. When you've completely finished creating your pennant, this can then be stitched down using a slip stitch. Alternatively, you can use a fusible web down the back, and I'll show you how to do that now. In order to seal up your seam using a fusible web, you need to add something, like for example this one here, which is the Clover fusible web. I use the 10mm one. It comes on a roll, it's got paper on the back, and it has the fusible web on the other side. Using your markings that you've got, just cut or rip a section just slightly longer. Open up your seam, and with an iron, just iron that down, leaving the paper in place, and just iron to fix it start cutting your pennant shape out, you need your front fabric with the right side facing up, the back that you've just made, okay, with your seam outermost and your lovely seam there facing in. Your template is pinned into place. Then using a pencil, or in this case a water-soluble pen, start tracing around the outside of your shape. Take the pins out, take your template off and then repin. Next thing to do is cut your shape out. Once you've cut your shape out, take your top pin out, fold back the backing and insert the sleeve that you made earlier. Place it central to the back and so it sticks out just a little bit. Fold back and pin. What we need to do now is pin all the way around the outside. Every 1.5 inches, roughly something like that. And what you can do is stitch all the way around the outside edge, and that's your opening for popping your pennant through. If you wanted to use wadding, this is the time to use it before you've actually stitched around. Here's the wadding that we discussed earlier. Lay your wadding behind the pennant, pin it and stitch all the way around the outside, and then trim the excess wadding away and then pop it through your opening. Once you've stitched all the way around the outside edge of your pennant, take the pins out and then pop it through the opening. Take your time popping out the corners. Take it over to the ironing board and press and steam the edges flat. On the back, this can be slip stitched down, or if you want to, this one here has got the fusible web. Take the paper out, lay it flat and just iron it into place. And as you can see, the sleeve is stitched in there. Once you've done that, you're ready to put your motif on the front. To add your motif onto your pennant, peel off the backing paper and press into place. Finish off the edges with blanket stitch, straight stitch or a stitch of your choice. To finish your pennant off, press the sleeve down at the back and pin it into place. Top stitch all the way around the outside edge, and what this will do is keep the sleeve nice and flat at the back and also create a nice edge to your pennant. On the back, because your sleeve hasn't been stitched down yet, you can machine stitch your label into place or hand stitch it, and then your sleeve can be slip stitched down. And there you have your completed pennant.